The classroom was cold. At least, that was what Hay thought as she settled into her seat. The Galactic Military Academy always kept the temperature low to accommodate all the different species. Her body shivered slightly, her compound eyes adjusting to the bright lights overhead. She looked around the room at her fellow cadets. There was Ho, the massive with his thick, scaled skin that looked like armor. He sat in the reinforced chair at the back, his reptilian face showing no emotion. Next to him was, whose crystalline body reflected the light in beautiful patterns. Dong floated in his water-filled containment suit, his tentacles moving slowly. Wu, another like herself, waved a delicate antenna in greeting. Boram, a furry, was already taking notes on her data pad. This was advanced combat medicine, one of the hardest classes at the academy. Most cadets failed it. The subject was difficult, but the real problem was the teacher. They went through instructors quickly. The last one had quit after just 3 weeks. The door opened, everyone went quiet. A human walked in. Hay felt her antennae twitch in surprise. Humans were rare at the academy. They had only joined the Galactic Council 15 cycles ago. Their planet, Earth, was considered a backwater world. Humans were seen as weak, fragile things that broke easily. The human was not very tall. He had dark hair and calm eyes. He wore the standard instructor uniform, but it looked too big on his thin frame. He carried a simple bag and walked to the desk at the front of the room. "Good morning," he said. His voice was quiet but clear. "My name is Min. I will be your instructor for advanced combat medicine." Ho raised his clawed hand. "Sir, are you qualified to teach this course? No offense, but humans are not known for medical expertise." Min smiled slightly. It was not an angry smile. "That is a fair question. I served 12 years with Earth Special Forces as a combat medic. I have treated injuries on 17 different worlds, including 4 war zones. I have certifications in xenobiology for 43 species." He paused. "Is that sufficient?" Ho nodded slowly, his scales rustling. Min set his bag down. "Let me be clear about this class. Combat medicine is not like hospital medicine. In a hospital, you have tools, time, and safety. In combat, you have none of these things. You might be under fire. You might be injured yourself. You might have to treat someone while they are still fighting." He walked around the desk, his movements smooth and easy. "Pain is part of life. Injury is part of combat. The question is not whether you will be hurt. The question is whether you can still complete your mission when you are hurt." He felt uncomfortable. In culture, pain was to be avoided at all costs. Her species had extremely sensitive nerves. Even a small injury could cause unbearable agony. "Sir," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "what if the pain is too great? What if someone cannot function?" Min looked at her directly. His eyes were kind but serious. "Then you learn to push through it. Pain is just a signal. It tells you that something is wrong, but you do not have to obey it." "That is impossible," Wu said. "Pain overrides all other functions. It is a survival mechanism." "For some species, yes," Min agreed. "But not for all, and even for those species there are techniques, mental discipline, chemical suppressants, nerve blocks. That is what we will learn in this class." He pulled up a holographic display. It showed various alien anatomies. "Today, we start with the basics, understanding how different species experience and process pain." The lesson began. Min was a good teacher. He explained things clearly and simply. He did not use complicated words. He made sure everyone understood before moving on. Hay found herself taking detailed notes. "The nervous system," Min said, pointing to a diagram of Hay species, "is incredibly complex. You can feel the slightest touch. This is wonderful for detailed work, but it means you feel pain much more intensely than most species." Hay nodded. This was true. He continued, gesturing to Ho's diagram, "Have thick skin and fewer nerve endings. You feel less pain, but you also might not notice serious injuries until it is too late." Ho grunted in agreement. Min went through each species, explaining their strengths and weaknesses. He talked about the who did not feel pain like organic beings but could fracture and shatter. He discussed the who could regenerate but still felt every wound. He covered the whose fur protected them but whose internal organs were delicate. Then he brought up human anatomy. "Humans," he said simply, "are in the middle. We feel pain, but we have an unusual ability to ignore it when necessary. Our evolutionary history made us persistent hunters. We chased prey for days, even when tired, hungry, and hurt. This gave us high endurance and pain tolerance." "How high?" Boram asked, her ears perked forward with curiosity. Min thought for a moment. "There are documented cases of humans fighting with broken bones, continuing to run on torn muscles, even walking for miles with punctured lungs. The body can continue functioning long after the pain says to stop." The classroom was silent. This did not match what they had learned about humans. The database said they were fragile, weak, easily damaged. Of course, Min added, just because we can push through pain does not mean we should ignore all injuries. The key is knowing the difference between an injury that will kill you and one that will just hurt. He clicked to the next slide, which brings us to today's main topic, field assessment under stress. When you are in combat, you have seconds to decide. Is this injury critical? Can it wait? Can the soldier continue fighting? For the next 2 hours, Min taught them the assessment protocols, how to check for arterial bleeding, how to identify shock, how to stabilize fractures, how to prioritize when there were multiple casualties. Hay was impressed. Despite his small size and supposedly fragile nature, Min knew more about battlefield medicine than any instructor she had studied under. He had real experience. He had seen real combat. As the class neared its end, Min pulled up the schedule. Tomorrow, we move to practical exercises. We will be using the zero-gravity combat simulator. Wear your field gear. Be prepared for physical activity. He looked around the room, his calm gaze touching each student. Remember, pain management is secondary to mission completion. Your comfort does not matter. Your survival does. Learn to tell the difference. The cadets filed out slowly, talking among themselves. Hay heard Boram whisper to Dong, "Do you think he really believes that, about pain being secondary?" "Humans are strange," Dong bubbled through his translator, "but he seems competent, more than the last instructor." Hay had to agree. Min was different from what she expected. Quiet, yes. Small, yes. But there was something solid about him, something that suggested he had seen things, done things, survived things. She looked back at the classroom. Min was packing up his materials, moving with efficient, practiced motions. For the first time, Hay wondered if the galaxy had been wrong about humans. Maybe they were not as weak as everyone thought. Tomorrow's practical exercise would be interesting. The Zero-Gravity Combat Simulator was the pride of the Galactic Military Academy. It was a massive spherical chamber, 50 meters in diameter, with platforms and obstacles floating at different heights. Magnetic fields created zones of gravity and no gravity. It was designed to train soldiers for combat in space stations, damaged ships, and asteroid bases. Hay floated near the entrance, her body struggling with the lack of gravity. Her stomach felt strange. Wu floated beside her, looking equally uncomfortable. "I hate zero-gravity training," Wu muttered, his antennae drooping. Min floated in the center of the simulator, perfectly balanced. He did not struggle like the cadets did. He moved with smooth, controlled motions, using small pushes to adjust his position. "Listen up," he called out. His voice echoed in the chamber. "Today we are learning rappelling and emergency descent techniques. In combat, you will often need to move quickly between levels. You need to do this even if you are injured, even if you are carrying wounded, even if equipment is damaged." Ho raised a clawed hand. "Sir, are too heavy for most rappelling equipment. How do we train for this?" "Good question," Min said. "Each species needs different techniques, but the principles are the same. Control your descent, protect your body, have backup plans." He gestured to the equipment floating nearby. "We have reinforced cables rated for weight. We have crystal-safe harnesses for. We have sealed rigs for." Boram's ears twitched nervously. "Have there been accidents in this simulator?" "Yes," Min said honestly, 3 in the last cycle, all from cadets not following safety protocols. That is why we practice." He pulled a harness toward himself. "I will demonstrate first. Watch carefully." He attached the harness quickly, his fingers working the buckles with practiced ease. Then he clipped a cable to his chest mount and pushed himself toward the highest platform, 30 meters up. The cadets watched as he landed smoothly on the platform. Even in zero gravity, he moved like he had done this 1,000 times before. "The key," he called down, "is controlling your speed. You do not want to descend too fast, but you also do not want to be a slow target. Find the balance." He stepped off the platform. Hay watched as the cable began to unspool. Min dropped smoothly, one hand on the cable, the other free. He looked relaxed, like he was simply taking a walk. Then something went wrong. There was a sharp metallic sound, a snap. The cable anchor on the platform broke free. Min fell. In the zero-gravity zone, he started slowly, but as he crossed into the artificial gravity field below, he accelerated. Fast. The cable whipped uselessly above him. Hay screamed. Wu froze. Ho started to move forward but was too far away. Min hit the simulator floor hard. The sound echoed through the chamber, a terrible, wet cracking sound. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the cadets rushed forward. Ho got there first, his powerful legs propelling him across the floor. "Instructor, do not move. We are getting medical assistance." Hay activated her communicator with trembling appendages. "Medical emergency in Simulator 3. Instructor down. Significant fall." Baram was already pulling out a medical scanner from the emergency kit on the wall. Her paws shook as she tried to activate it. His crystalline body chimed with distress. The medical team will take at least 5 minutes to arrive from the main building. He might have internal injuries, spinal damage. Dong bubbled frantically in his suit. Do we try to move him, stabilize him? What is the protocol? Min groaned. He was lying on his back, his left arm bent at an unnatural angle. He could see the bone displaced under his skin, pressing up in a way that made her feel sick. Everyone stay calm, Min said. His voice was strained but steady. Class continues. He stared at him in disbelief. Sir, you just fell 9 meters. You are clearly injured. 10 meters, Min corrected. And yes, I broke my arm, but that is not life-threatening. He sat up slowly, moving his right arm to brace himself. Do not move, Ho roared. You could have spinal injuries, internal bleeding. Min shook his head. I landed on my left side. The impact was distributed. I can feel all my extremities. No numbness, no difficulty breathing, no signs of internal hemorrhaging. He looked at his arm clinically. Radius and ulna fracture, clean break, minimal soft tissue damage. He started to stand up. 6 alien cadets stared in absolute horror as their human instructor got to his feet, his broken arm hanging at his side. This is insane, Wu whispered. He should be unconscious from the pain. Min walked calmly toward his equipment bag, which had fallen nearby. He moved a bit stiffly, favoring his right side, but he walked normally, like nothing was wrong, like he did not have bones broken and displaced in his arm. Sir, please, He begged. Wait for the medical team. You need treatment. I need to teach, Min said. He reached his bag and awkwardly opened it with one hand. And this is the perfect teaching moment. Teaching moment? Baram's voice was shrill with panic. Your arm is broken. Yes, Min agreed. He pulled out a medical kit, which makes this an excellent practical demonstration. You are all training to be combat medics. Sometimes you will be the one who is injured. You need to know how to treat yourself. His crystal body rang with a sharp, discordant note. Instructor Min, with respect, your species' biology cannot possibly allow you to function with that level of damage. You should be in shock. Humans evolved differently, Min said. He set the medical kit down and started opening it with his good hand and his teeth. We have high pain tolerance. It is necessary for survival. Ho stepped forward, his massive form towering over the human. I am calling the medical team and ordering you to stop. This is dangerous. Min looked up at him calmly. Cadet Ho, in a combat situation there is no medical team. There is only you, your squad, and your mission. If you cannot function while injured, you die. Your squad dies. The mission fails. He paused. Now step back and observe. Something in his voice made Ho step back. It was not loud. It was not angry, but it carried absolute authority. This was a voice that had commanded in real battles, in real wars. The medical team arrived, rushing in with a floating stretcher and emergency equipment. The lead medic, a tall, looked at Min and stopped in confusion. You are the emergency, the medic asked. Yes, Min said, broken left forearm, but I am treating it myself. This is a teaching exercise. The medic looked at the damaged arm and then at Min's calm face. Sir, that is a serious fracture. You need immediate medical attention. I am giving myself medical attention, Min replied. You may observe, but do not interfere unless I request assistance. The medic looked at the cadets, who all nodded frantically. He sighed and gestured to his team to stand back. Min knelt beside his medical kit. Using only his right hand, he began pulling out supplies. He watched in fascinated horror as he laid out a compression splint, sterile wrapping, a diagnostic scanner, and a small bottle of pills. First, Min said, his voice taking on a lecturing tone, assess the injury properly. Even though I can feel it is a fracture, I need to confirm there are no complications. He picked up the scanner with his good hand and ran it over his broken arm. The display showed the bones clearly. The radius and ulna were both fractured, displaced about 15 millimeters from proper alignment. Clean breaks, he confirmed. No bone fragments, no arterial damage. Good. Good. He could not believe what she was hearing. How is any of this good? It could be worse, Min said simply. I have seen worse. I have had worse. He set down the scanner. Now comes the difficult part. The bones need to be realigned before splinting. Dong made a gurgling sound of distress. You cannot possibly mean to realign your own bones. That requires a medical specialist. In a hospital, yes, Min agreed. But we are not in a hospital. Watch carefully. This is an important skill. He took a deep breath. Then with his right hand, he grasped his left forearm just below the fracture. His face tightened slightly, the first real sign of pain he had seen. Then he pulled. The sound was horrible, A grinding, crunching noise as bones moved. Hay felt her vision darken. Wu turned away. Baram made a choking sound. Min's face went pale. Sweat appeared on his forehead, but his hands did not shake. With steady pressure, he manipulated the bones back into alignment. The scanner beeped. The bones were properly positioned. Min let out a slow breath. There, that is done. He had just set his own broken bones, while conscious, while teaching a class. Hay realized something terrifying in that moment. Everything they had been taught about humans was wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. These were not weak, fragile creatures. These were something else entirely. Min picked up the compression splint with his right hand. His left arm hung at his side, now properly aligned but still broken. Sweat dripped down his face. His breathing was controlled, steady, like he was doing a normal exercise. The next step, he said, his voice slightly tight but clear, is immobilization. A fracture cannot heal properly if the bones move. The splint must be firm but not so tight that it cuts off circulation. He could not look away. Her entire body trembled. Every instinct screamed at her that what she was watching was impossible. A person with a broken limb should be unconscious, or screaming, or at the very least unable to function. Yet here was Min, speaking calmly about medical procedures while his own arm was freshly fractured. The human placed the splint along his forearm. It was designed to be applied with 2 hands, but he managed it with one, using his teeth to hold parts of it in place while he worked the fasteners. Instructor, chimed, her crystalline voice shaking with distress, please, this is not necessary. The medical team is here. Let them help you. Min glanced at the medic, who stood nearby with his team. Would you interfere with a teaching demonstration? The shifted uncomfortably. Sir, this is highly irregular. You are causing yourself unnecessary pain. Pain is relative, Min replied. He secured another strap on the splint, pulling it tight with his teeth and hand. And this pain is necessary for the lesson. He looked at his students. How many of you have ever treated your own injuries? Silence. In my 12 years of service, Min continued, tightening another strap, I have set my own bones twice, sutured my own wounds 7 times, and performed field surgery on myself once. This is not unusual for human combat medics. It is expected. Ho's scaled face showed something that might have been respect or horror, possibly both. Your species fights while injured, regularly. When necessary, Min said. He finished securing the splint and held up his arm, examining his work. The splint was perfectly applied, firm and straight. Human history is full of soldiers fighting through injuries. We have records of people continuing combat with arrows in their bodies, with gunshot wounds, with missing fingers or broken ribs. He reached for the sterile wrapping with his good hand. This was easier to apply. He wound it around the splint, creating a clean, professional dressing. Baram sat down suddenly, her legs giving out. This makes no sense. Pain is a shutdown mechanism. It forces you to stop and heal. How can you just ignore it? I'm not ignoring it, Min corrected. I feel it, quite intensely actually. He tied off the wrapping. But feeling pain and being controlled by pain are different things. The human brain can prioritize. Right now, my brain knows that completing this lesson is more important than responding to the pain signals. Dong bubbled frantically in his suit. What level of pain are you experiencing, on the standard scale? Min considered. Currently, about 6 out of 10. When I was realigning the bones, it was probably an 8. 8, Wu's antennae stood straight up in shock. On the universal pain scale, 8 is considered unbearable. Species are expected to lose consciousness. For some species, Min agreed. He picked up the bottle of pills. Humans have a different threshold. He opened the bottle with his teeth and shook out 2 small tablets. These are standard human pain suppressants, mild analgesics. They will bring the pain down to about a 4. He swallowed the pills dry. The medic finally spoke up. Sir, we have neural blockers that would eliminate your pain completely. Why use such primitive medication? Because neural blockers would numb my entire arm, Min explained. I need to maintain sensation to know if I am causing further damage. Also, in field conditions, you rarely have access to advanced medication. You use what you have. He looked at his students. That is the point of this demonstration. You must be prepared to work with limited resources. He stood up, his splinted arm now resting comfortably against his chest. The medical kit remained on the floor. His bag hung from his shoulder. He looked almost normal except for the bulky splint. Now, he said, let us discuss what went wrong with the repelling equipment. Hay felt her mind struggling to process this. He was going to continue the class, after breaking his arm, after setting his own bones. Instructor, she said weakly, perhaps we should postpone the rest of the lesson. Why, Min asked genuinely. I am functional. The lesson material is ready. We still have 2 hours of class time. He walked to the repelling equipment that had failed, moving a bit more carefully than before but still steady. The cadets followed him like they were in a dream. Min examined the cable anchor that had broken. Here is the failure point. This anchor was rated for 200 kilograms. I weigh 72 kilograms. It should not have failed. He showed them the broken metal. See this stress fracture. This is metal fatigue. Someone did not perform proper maintenance inspection. Ho leaned in to look, so this was preventable. Yes, Min said, which is an important lesson. Always inspect your equipment. In the field, equipment failure can mean death. He gestured to his splinted arm. In this case, it meant a broken arm. I was lucky. Lucky, Boram squeaked. You call this lucky? I am alive, Min said simply. I can still walk, still think, still teach. Yes, that is lucky. I have seen equipment failures that resulted in death. His expression became serious. That is why we train. That is why we practice safety protocols. That is why you must learn to function even when things go wrong. He turned to face the class fully. Today you learned several things. First, equipment can fail. Second, injuries happen even during training. Third, you must be able to assess and treat injuries under pressure. He paused. And fourth, different species have different capabilities. What is disabling for one species might be manageable for another. Chimed softly. Instructor, with respect, what you did today is not manageable for any species we know. It is extraordinary. Min shook his head. It is ordinary for humans with military training. Any soldier from Earth could have done the same. He saw their disbelieving faces. You do not believe me. That is all right. You can research it later. For now, let us continue with the lesson plan. For the next hour, Min taught them about equipment inspection, safety protocols, and backup procedures. He did it all with one arm in a splint. He demonstrated equipment checks one-handed. He showed them how to inspect anchors and cables. He explained stress fractures and metal fatigue. The cadets took notes mechanically, still in shock. When they moved to practice exercises, Min supervised each one carefully. When Wu struggled with attaching a harness, Min walked over and helped adjust it, using his good hand and occasionally bracing things with his splinted arm. Does that not hurt? Wu asked quietly, using your injured arm. Yes, Min said, but it is tolerable, and I need to make sure your harness is secure. Your safety is more important than my comfort. By the end of the class, each cadet had successfully completed a rappelling exercise under Min's watchful eye. The human instructor had not slowed down, not complained, not shown any signs of wanting to stop. When the class time ended, Min addressed them one final time. Good work today, everyone. Tomorrow we will continue with emergency ascent techniques. Read chapters 7 and 8 in your textbook. Class dismissed. The cadets gathered their belongings slowly. None of them seemed to want to leave. They kept looking at Min, who was packing up his medical kit with his good hand. The medic approached him again. Instructor, I really must insist that you come to the medical center for a full examination. You may have other injuries you are not aware of. I will come after I finish my reports, Min said. I need to file an incident report about the equipment failure, and I need to update the lesson plan based on today's events. You are going to do paperwork. Now, the medic looked incredulous. The reports need to be filed within 4 hours of an incident, Min explained. It is regulation. The medic threw up his hands in defeat and left with his team. He approached Min slowly. Her antennae were drooping with exhaustion and emotional overload. Instructor, may I ask you something? Of course, Min said, looking at her with those calm, steady eyes. Do all humans have this ability to function through pain? Min thought about it. Most humans can tolerate significant pain, yes, it is part of our evolution, but soldiers are trained specifically to push through it. We practice mental discipline, we condition ourselves, we learn to compartmentalize. He smiled slightly. Also, it helps to have treated so many injuries that you know exactly what is serious and what is not. This fracture is painful but not dangerous. I can manage it. Hay looked at him with new understanding. This small, supposedly fragile creature had capabilities that her entire species could not imagine. The galaxy had been wrong about Earth. Very, very wrong. Thank you for the lesson, sir, she said softly. All of it. Min nodded. You are welcome. See you tomorrow. As Hay left the simulator, she heard Boram whisper to Dong, I'm going to research humans tonight. All of it. Combat history, biology, everything. Me too, Dong agreed. Hay decided she would do the same. Something told her that what they learned would change everything they thought they knew about the new species from Earth. The academy library was quiet at night. Most students studied in their quarters, connected to the database remotely. But Hay preferred the physical space, with its rows of data terminals and the soft hum of the environmental systems. She was not alone tonight. All 6 cadets from Min's class sat at terminals, their screens glowing in the dim light. They had agreed to meet here after dinner, without discussing it. They all had the same need to understand what they had witnessed. "I have been reading for 3 hours," Boram said, her voice filled with disbelief. "Every article makes humans sound more terrifying." "Define terrifying," Ho rumbled. The Massive was hunched over his terminal, his clawed fingers moving slowly across the keys. "How about this?" Boram said, pulling up a document. "Human soldiers in what they call World War I fought in trenches for months. Months, in mud with rats with constant shelling. Many had injuries that would disable any of our species, but they kept fighting." "That is just one example," Wu said. "Look at this." He shared his screen. A human mountain climber named cut off his own arm when it was trapped under a boulder. He used a dull knife. He was alone. He did it to save his own life. He felt sick. He cut off his own limb while conscious. "Apparently," Wu confirmed, "and then he walked for miles to get help." His crystalline body chimed as she processed information. "I found medical records from human hospitals. Humans regularly walk into emergency facilities with broken bones, having driven themselves there. Some even delay treatment for hours or days because they have work to complete." "That cannot be normal," Dong bubbled. "That suggests a complete malfunction of their pain response system." "No," Ho said slowly. "I found a research paper on human neurology. Their pain response works fine. They feel pain as intensely as we do, adjusted for their nervous system, but they have something else." He pulled up a brain scan. "This region here, the prefrontal cortex, can override pain signals. Humans can literally decide to ignore pain." The cadets stared at the brain scan in silence. "That is a survival trait," Boram whispered, "being able to ignore your own body's warnings." "Apparently it evolved for persistence hunting," Hay said, sharing her own research. "Humans would chase prey for days across open ground. Even when tired, even when hurt, they would keep running until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They needed to be able to push through pain and fatigue." Wu shuddered. "That is horrifying. They are like machines that do not shut down." "Not machines," chimed. "Something else. I found historical military records. Humans have fought battles while wounded for thousands of years. There are accounts of soldiers continuing to fight with arrows in their bodies, with sword wounds, with lost limbs." She pulled up an image. It showed a human soldier from what the database called the Battle of Verdun. He was wounded but still standing, still holding his weapon. "This one," continued, "fought for 6 hours with a piece of metal lodged in his chest. He only collapsed after the battle was over." Dong floated closer to his screen. "I found something about their space program. When humans first went to their moon, one of them injured his hand. He just wrapped it and continued the mission, in space, with no immediate medical support." "Wait," Ho said, "what about the psychological aspect? Surely trauma affects them." He had found research on that too. They experience psychological trauma, yes, but they have something called compartmentalization. They can put traumatic experiences in a mental box and continue functioning. Many human soldiers do this routinely. "This explains Instructor Min," Boram said quietly. "When he broke his arm, he immediately assessed it as non-critical and continued his mission, which was teaching us. He said any Earth soldier could have done the same," Wu added. "I did not believe him, but based on this research he was telling the truth." The group fell silent, each processing what they had learned. The screens around them displayed images and data that completely contradicted everything the Galactic Council had believed about humans. "We have to go back tomorrow," Hay said finally. "We need to ask him questions." The others agreed. The next morning the cadets arrived early to class. Min was already there, preparing the lesson materials. His left arm was still in the splint, resting in a sling now, but he moved around the classroom normally. "Good morning," he said, noticing their early arrival. "You are eager today." "Instructor," Hay began, her antennae twitching nervously. "We have questions about yesterday, about humans." Min set down the data pad he had been holding. "All right, I have time before class starts. What do you want to know?" Ho spoke first. "Is your pain tolerance normal for humans, or are you exceptional?" "I'm above average," Min admitted. "Military training and combat experience increase tolerance, but any healthy adult human could manage what I did yesterday. It would hurt more for some, but they could do it." How chimed, "How is that physically possible?" Min thought about how to explain it. Pain is information. It tells you that damage is occurring or has occurred, but the human brain can evaluate that information and decide how to respond. If the pain is from something immediately life-threatening, we react strongly. If it is from something that can wait, we can set it aside mentally and deal with it later. "But the pain is still there," Wu protested. "How do you just set it aside?" Training, Min said, and practice. Humans start learning this as children. When a child falls and scrapes their knee, we teach them to get up and keep playing. When an athlete is injured during a game, they often finish the game before getting treatment. We condition ourselves from a young age to push through discomfort. Bahram's ears drooped. That sounds cruel, teaching children to ignore pain. Not ignore, Min corrected gently. Manage. There is a difference. We still treat injuries. We still seek medical help. But we do not let pain control our actions unless absolutely necessary. Dong bubbled a question. What about psychological pain, emotional trauma? Can you push through that too? Min's expression became more serious. To some extent, yes. Soldiers are trained in mental resilience, but emotional trauma is different from physical pain. It requires different treatment. Many human soldiers struggle with what we call post-traumatic stress. We feel emotions deeply, even if we can function through physical pain. Hay had been quiet, but now she spoke up. Instructor, we researched human military history last night. We found records of humans fighting in conditions that would break any other species. Months in trenches, years of continuous combat, battles where survival rates were low but humans kept fighting anyway. Min nodded slowly. Yes, human history is violent. We have fought each other for thousands of years. It made us good at war, too good perhaps. Why did you join the Galactic Council? Ho asked suddenly. If humans are this resilient, this capable in combat, you could have conquered other species. We could have, Min agreed, but we chose not to. Humans learned eventually that cooperation is better than conquest. We spent centuries fighting each other before we realized there was a better way. He looked at each of them. Strength is not just about fighting. It is about choosing when to fight and when to build. Chimed softly. The galaxy views humans as weak, as fragile newcomers, but you are not weak at all, are you? We are fragile in some ways, Min said honestly. We do not have natural armor like Ho. We do not have haste sensory capabilities. We cannot regenerate like Dong, but we are very, very good at surviving, at adapting, at enduring. Is that why Earth sent you here? Bahram asked. To teach us endurance. Partially, Min said, but also because combat medicine is about more than knowledge. It is about keeping calm under pressure, about functioning when things go wrong, about making decisions when you are scared or hurt or both. He gestured to his splinted arm. Yesterday was not planned, but it taught you more than a lecture could have. You saw that injuries do not have to end a mission. You saw assessment and treatment under pressure. You learned that different species have different capabilities. We learned humans are terrifying, Wu muttered. Min smiled. Humans prefer to be allies rather than enemies. We are better at building than destroying, despite our history. The other cadets started arriving. The 6 who had done research the night before exchanged glances. They had learned something profound, something that would change how they viewed the galaxy. During class, Min taught them emergency ascent techniques, working around his injured arm. He demonstrated knots with one hand. He showed them how to problem-solve when normal methods were not available. But now the cadets saw it differently. This was not just teaching. This was a human showing them capabilities that seemed impossible. Every time Min adapted to using one hand, every time he worked around his injury without complaint, they understood a little more. At the end of class, as students were leaving, Hay approached the desk. Instructor, I want to apologize. Min looked up puzzled. For what? For underestimating you, for thinking humans were weak, she paused. We were taught that Earth was a minor planet with a fragile species. We were wrong. Min leaned back in his chair. The galaxy has been wrong about many things. Humans were wrong about the galaxy too. We thought we were alone in the universe. We thought we were the only intelligent species. We were humbled by the discovery of the Council. But you are not humble about your capabilities, Hay observed. No, Min agreed. False modesty helps no one. Humans are good at certain things. Endurance, adaptation, survival. We do not hide these strengths, but we also know our weaknesses. We are learning from species like yours, gaining knowledge we never had. Hay Centeni perked up. What can you learn from? We are weak. We feel too much pain. You are precise, Min said. Your fine motor control exceeds any species I know. Your sensitivity makes you excellent at detailed work. Every species has strengths. The key is learning to work together, he smiled. Besides, managing pain can be taught. I can teach you techniques to help with your pain sensitivity, not to eliminate it, but to manage it better. You would do that? Of course, that is what teachers do. Hay left the classroom with a strange feeling. Respect, certainly, but also hope. If humans could teach them endurance and they could teach humans precision, perhaps the galaxy could become stronger together. She just hoped the rest of the council would understand what she now knew. Humans were not the weak newcomers everyone thought they were. They were survivors, and the galaxy needed to recognize that. 3 weeks had passed since the accident. Min still wore the splint, though the medical staff had cleared him for light duty. He ignored the light duty recommendation and continued teaching full classes. Today was practical exam day. The 6 cadets stood in the simulator, each wearing field medical gear. They looked nervous. Hay's antennae twitched constantly. Ho shifted his weight from foot to foot, his scales rustling. Even Boram, usually calm, kept checking her equipment. Today you will demonstrate everything you have learned, Min said. He stood at the center of the simulator, his splinted arm now out of the sling. The doctors said the bone was healing well. Each of you will face a different scenario. You will be injured. You will need to assess and treat yourselves while completing an objective. Wu's antennae drooped. We have to injure ourselves. Simulated injuries, Min clarified. The Academy has approved the use of neural stimulators. They will make you feel pain without causing actual damage. The intensity will be calibrated for each species. Chimed nervously, how intense? Enough to be realistic, Min said. In combat, you will not have the luxury of minor injuries. You need to learn to function through significant pain. Dong bubbled anxiously. What if we cannot complete the scenario? Then you fail the exam, Min said simply, and you repeat the course next cycle. But I do not think any of you will fail. You have all improved greatly. It was true. Over the past 3 weeks, Min had taught them techniques they never knew existed. Mental discipline exercises, breathing techniques for pain management, ways to compartmentalize discomfort while focusing on tasks. He had been the most skeptical, but she had also improved the most. Her natural precision, combined with new pain management skills, made her an excellent field medic. Hey, you are first, Min said. She stepped forward, her legs trembling slightly. A technician attached a neural stimulator to her thorax. It was a small device that would send signals to her nervous system. Your scenario, Min explained, is a combat situation. You are pinned down by enemy fire. You have a fractured leg. You need to treat yourself and signal for extraction. You have 5 minutes. The simulator activated. Holographic enemies appeared in the distance, their weapons firing. The sounds of battle filled the air. Then the neural stimulator activated. Hay gasped as pain flooded her leg. It felt exactly like a fracture. Her species' sensitive nerves made every sensation amplified. This was agony. Begin, Min said. For a moment, Hay could not move. The pain was overwhelming. Every instinct screamed at her to curl up, to wait for help, to submit to unconsciousness. But then she heard Min's voice from the first day of class. Pain is just a signal. You do not have to obey it. She took a deep breath. The breathing technique he had taught them. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4. It did not eliminate the pain, but it gave her something to focus on. Moving carefully, she pulled her medical kit toward her with her upper appendages. Her leg screamed in protest, but she ignored it. Just a signal, just information. She pulled out a diagnostic scanner. Her hands shook, but she managed to scan the leg. Simulated fracture of the main support bone. She needed to splint it. The holographic enemies kept firing. She had to work quickly. Using techniques Min had taught, she applied the splint with trembling appendages. It was not as neat as in practice, but it was functional. She pulled it tight and the pain decreased slightly. Stabilization helped. Then she pulled out the signal beacon and activated it. The hologram showed an extraction ship incoming. Time, Min called out. 4 minutes 30 seconds. Well done, Hay. The neural stimulator deactivated. The pain vanished instantly. Hay collapsed, breathing hard. She had done it. Despite pain that would have left her unconscious a month ago, she had completed the mission. Excellent work, Min said, helping her up with his good hand. You stayed calm, you followed protocol, you adapted to the pain. That is exactly what I needed to see. One by one, the other cadets went through their scenarios. Ho had to treat a chest wound while defending a position. Wu had to apply a tourniquet to his own limb while under fire. Boram had to stabilize a spinal injury while calling for help. Dong had to seal a puncture in his containment suit while maintaining equipment. Had to repair fractures in her crystalline structure while operating communications gear. Each one struggled. Each one felt pain they had never experienced in training, but each one completed their objective. When the last exam was finished, the 6 cadets stood together, exhausted but proud. They had passed. Min faced them with a small smile. You all performed excellently, but more importantly, you learned something that cannot be taught from a textbook. You learned that pain does not have to control you, that injury does not mean failure, that your species, each unique and different, can adapt and overcome. Hay stepped forward. Instructor, you told us on the first day that pain management is secondary to mission completion. We did not understand then. We thought you were being harsh. And now, Min asked. Now we understand, Ho rumbled. You were not being harsh, you were teaching us to survive. You were showing us what was possible, added, her crystalline voice clear and certain. Min nodded. Each species in the galaxy has evolved differently. Humans have high pain tolerance, yes, but have precision, have strength, have resilience of a different kind, have adaptability, have speed and agility. Every species has value. Every species can contribute. But humans, Boram said quietly, humans are survivors. That is your strength. One of them, Min agreed. But survival is not just about enduring. It is about learning, adapting, growing. You six have learned to survive better than you could 3 weeks ago. That makes you stronger. That makes the galaxy stronger. Later that day, Hay sat in the Academy's common area with the other cadets. Word had spread about their exam. Other students approached them, asking questions. Is it true you treated your own injuries? Did you really use neural stimulators? How did you manage the pain? Hay found herself explaining the techniques Min had taught, the breathing exercises, the mental compartmentalization, the way to assess an injury clinically, even when it was your own body. A senior cadet, named Cal, listened intently. I heard instructor Min broke his own arm during a demonstration and kept teaching. Is that true? Yes, Hay confirmed. He fell during a rappelling exercise. He broke both bones in his forearm. Then he set them himself and continued the class for 2 more hours. Cal stared at her. That is impossible. It is not, Ho said, walking up to join the conversation. Humans have capabilities we do not, but they also taught us that we have capabilities we did not know we had. By the end of the week, Min's reputation had spread throughout the academy. Cadets who had dismissed humans as weak now looked at Min with respect, some with awe, a few with fear. The academy administration noticed. Commander, the academy's director, called Min to her office. She was tall with silver skin and multiple arms. Instructor Min, she said, gesturing to a seat, your teaching methods have caused quite a stir. I apologize if I have violated any protocols, Min said calmly. No apology necessary, replied. In fact, enrollment requests for your class have increased by 300%. Cadets from other programs are requesting transfers. Other instructors are asking about your techniques. Min looked surprised. I am just teaching combat medicine. You are teaching more than that, said. You are teaching resilience, mental strength, capabilities that many species did not think they possessed. She leaned forward. The council is interested in expanding your program. They want human instructors in multiple academies. They want your training methods standardized across the military. That is a significant undertaking, Min observed. Earth is still new to the council, continued. Many species underestimate your people, but after seeing what you have accomplished here, the council is. They are beginning to understand that humans bring unique strengths to the alliance. Min nodded slowly. Humans have much to learn from the galaxy, but we also have much to teach. Precisely, said. Which is why I am offering you the position of senior combat medicine instructor, with authority to train other instructors in your methods. It would mean a promotion and significantly more responsibility. I would need to consult with Earth's military command, Min said. Of course, take your time. Paused. May I ask you something personal, instructor? Certainly. When you broke your arm, why did you continue teaching? You could have postponed the class, taken medical leave. No one would have questioned it. Min thought about his answer. Because my students needed to learn, and sometimes the best lessons come from unexpected moments. If I had stopped, I would have taught them that injury means stopping. Instead, I showed them that injury means adapting. Nodded slowly. You humans have an interesting philosophy. We had to develop it, Min said. We evolved on a dangerous world. We had to learn to keep going, even when hurt, even when scared. It became part of who we are. As Min left the commander's office, he passed Hay in the hallway. She was walking with a group of younger cadets, explaining something about field triage. She saw him and paused. Instructor, I was just telling these first-year students about your class. The young cadets looked at Min with wide eyes. Instructor, Hay continued, these students were worried about the combat medicine requirements. I was explaining that it is challenging but possible, that we can do more than we think we can. Min smiled. That is exactly the right lesson to share. One of the young cadets, a small, spoke up nervously. Sir, is it true that humans can fight with broken bones? It is true, Min confirmed. But that is not the point. The point is that every species can do more than they believe. You do not need to be human to be resilient. You just need to be willing to learn. As he walked away, Min heard Hay continue her explanation to the younger students. She was teaching them the breathing techniques, the mental exercises, the ways to manage fear and pain. She had learned well. In his quarters that night, Min recorded a message to Earth's military command. He explained the offer, the opportunity to expand human influence in the Galactic Military Academy, the chance to change how the galaxy viewed humanity. He also recorded a personal note. When I arrived here, the other species saw humans as fragile, weak, insignificant. In 3 weeks, I have changed that perception in my small corner of the academy, not through speeches or demonstrations of strength, but by teaching, by showing them what we can do when we do not give up. He paused, looking at his splinted arm. The bone was healing well. In another week, the splint would come off. A minor injury in the grand scheme of things, but it had taught a powerful lesson. Humans are survivors, he continued. We always have been. Now we are teaching the galaxy to survive better too. I think this is the beginning of something important. The galaxy is learning that Earth has value beyond our resources or our location. We have knowledge, experience, resilience. He ended the recording and sent it. Outside his window, the academy grounds glowed with lights from 100 different buildings. Thousands of cadets from hundreds of species, all training to defend the galaxy. And now, thanks to one broken arm and a calm demonstration of human endurance, they were learning new ways to survive. Min allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had underestimated Earth. That would not happen again, not after word spread about the human instructor who set his own broken bones and kept teaching. The reputation of humanity was changing, one lesson at a time.